Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I'm your host, W.J. Sheehan. Hello, everybody, and once again, welcome to our show. My name is W.J. Sheehan, author of the series Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters. Volumes 1 through 8 available at Amazon in ebook and paperback, and volumes 1 through 6 at Audible, iTunes, and Amazon in audio format. And by the way, my Exorcist book, Truth and Lies, was just approved at Audible. So now The Exorcist, Truth and Lies, and The Exorcist Diabolica are available in audiobook as well. So please take advantage of that. And now, may I welcome in my brother, KJ Sheehan.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Marvelous, marvelous. You know, and the audience doesn't know that my brother KJ is becoming quite the model aviation builder.
Oh, that's true. The COVID Air Force, as I call them.
I'll tell you what, that little Stuka dive bomber you're working on is quite the work of art over there, brother.
Yeah, they're coming out all right. I'm pleased with them. For the audience, I used to build a lot of little plastic model airplanes. I mean, in my teens, before I was a teenager and in my teens, and then had one here for a couple of years on the shelf. Hadn't built any since then. And when COVID-19 struck and we were locked in, one of my kids said, "Dad, why don't you build that thing?" And I was like, you know what? Why don't I build that thing? And now I got 4 down and about 3 more in the hangar ready to be built.
That's excellent. And I can tell that your heart and soul is going into it, trying to get the paint correct. And they all look like they were weathered, and in use, and that's the cool part about it.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing. Like, I never really did that going back 100 years ago. 2 big differences now, like weathering them, which, the first one I told you, Bill, when you have something that's perfect and it looks like it rolled out of the factory, and then you start putting like ugly paint all over it, it's hard to pull the trigger. But then once you're in, and you just keep going. And I think they're even more beautiful when they're ugly.
No, there's no doubt about it. And that's the whole idea of making like a correct diorama.
Oh, exactly.
It's got to look like the event is happening, like it's going on,
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's the big difference. And then, Bill, you can vouch for me, but my kids don't believe me. I bought a little airbrush with a little compressor, and it's not like, I know a lot of people are struggling out there, but it's not a very expensive purchase,
Mm-hmm.
A little bit north of $50 for the combo. But Bill, when I was a kid, we didn't have much, and I would have the little like $4 airbrush that I bought from my paper route. And then I don't know if you remember, but I had an old VW tire that I would pump up with air in the garage and bring it in and hook the airbrush to it in the kitchen.
Well, it works, you know what I mean?
It worked great. Built some cool models back then, but I tell the kids that and they think I'm telling them I walked to school uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes.
And we did.
But it was the absolute truth, folks. I had this old, dirty spare tire, and I would pump it up with a hand pump in the garage and roll it into the kitchen and put it on the floor and screw the airbrush into it until it ran out of air, and then I go out and pump it up again.
And that was the kitchen in our 18-room mansion.
Something like that.
Well, my brother, what do you got up your sleeve tonight?
Oh, man, we are going into the Other Oddities segment tonight.
Nice.
Very odd, Bill. I'm pretty sure you don't know this one. But
All right.
we're going to talk about the Monkey Man of New Delhi, India.
Really? The Monkey Man?
Monkey Man. Not to be confused with like the Rolling Stones.
Or the
Monkey
Monkeys?
Man. Or the Monkeys, yeah. So have you heard of this guy?
I'm not sure. Is this fella that actually has the ability to climb around like sides of buildings and over houses and stuff as like a monkey would?
He did some like jumping ability and probably some climbing ability.
Wow.
And he's going to sound a little bit like somebody else we covered a while back that did some jumping and climbing as well.
Oh, the old Spring Heels Jack.
Spring Heel Jack.
Wow. Oh, that's
Yeah,
kind of
so-
cool. All right, let her rip, bro.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So first we'll talk a little bit about New Delhi and Old Delhi. New Delhi, the capital of India and the capital of, or what's generally called the National Capital Territory of Delhi, NCT. That's like the greater area of Delhi.
Okay.
And Bill, as you know, I've been there a bunch of times, as recently as a year ago. And it is a pretty cool place. It is a huge place. So, the National Capital Territory of Delhi, that larger area, is about 17 million people.
Wow. I mean, that is a packed city.
Oh, and when you're there, it feels like 100 million people. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I had to read it twice when I was looking up the facts. I'm like, 17 million? It's got to be like 100 million.
Yeah, but the
'cause
way
it
they
is
get it, the
big.
way they get about over there, and the walking and the kind of ramshackle modes of transportation on the streets, is like really bizarre.
Oh, man, it's the only place where you ever see like 5 people, like a whole family of 5 on like a Honda 65cc motorcycle. I kid you not. You not.
Riding on 2 flats.
And I'm not making fun of the people of India in any way. Like, first off, like a wild place to go, but the people are so nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, just wonderful people, and also not much of a language barrier, because it used to be a British colony.
That's right.
And a lot of the folks learned the Queen's English, so for being at a place where it feels like you're as far away as the moon, you can still communicate with almost everybody there.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And very loving people over there.
That's what I mean. Super loving, it's interesting. I was looking at it and looking at the stats, right, to do this story. And, I think of Delhi and New Delhi, the whole area, as, of course, there's a lot of technology there. That's what brings me there is the high-tech industry. A lot of really, really poor people, unbelievably poor. And then I was looking up the stats, and it's home to 23,000 millionaires and 18 billionaires in Delhi, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, somebody's making money.
Somebody's making money, right? There's a big gap.
Now,
like many of these
the
places.
question is the Monkey Man loving?
Well, we're gonna go there now. So these reports of the Monkey Man started about 20 years ago, Bill, in May of 2001. And the reports started of a strange monkey-like creature that was appearing at night and attacking people.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And, the eyewitness accounts were often a little inconsistent with one another, like with 2 basic groupings of accounts, which we'll go through. But, some of them described the creature as being about 4 feet tall, covered in thick black hair, get this, with a metal helmet, metal claws, glowing red eyes, and 3 buttons on its chest.
Oh, my God. What the heck?
What the heck? So, I had in my notes here, Bill, rack your brains a little bit, but who does this remind you of? But you got it already, right?
But the helmet.
Spring-heeled Jack with the metal claws and the metal helmet. A little more than 4 feet tall, though, but.
Yeah, but something? First of all, if it was any type of person trying to dress up as a monkey or a little ape, that would be really weird, But the helmet and the metal claws and whatnot, that's very, very strange.
So I'm with you. Like I was going to say, yeah, Bill, very strange for a person to dress up like a monkey that's 4 feet tall, but even stranger for a monkey to put on a metal helmet and metal claws and have 3 buttons on its chest.
Yeah, most monkeys don't have a wardrobe assistant.
I'm just thinking, I think that's even stranger.
Oh, boy.
So this other population of descriptions, get this, they describe the monkey man as being up to 8 feet tall.
Oh.
And very muscular, and that it would leap from building to building. A little bit like Spring-heeled Jack.
Yeah, and, no matter what the distance is between buildings, that's just weird behavior, leaping around on rooftops.
Unless you're Spider-Man.
Yeah, woohoo!
Can he swing from a web? Take a look overhead. Look out.
Yeah, there you go. Here come the Monkey Man.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so then, the people who were attacked by this Monkey Man, they reported being scratched. And, by some reports, 2 or 3 different people actually died, but not from the injuries from the Monkey Man, but actually from the panic that was caused thinking that they saw the attacker or that they did see the attacker.
Yeah, just overwhelming, heart-stopping fright.
Yeah, not quite scared to death, but scared to fall down the stairs or jump off of a building because you were terrified of this creature coming at you.
In other words, doing anything you could to avoid it, and in so doing, fatality occurred.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really bizarre.
This is the other oddities segment.
Now, the other people who saw the larger of the two, also with the helmet, the claws, and the eyes, and all that.
They didn't say that in the article. So, but I'm thinking yes. It's just because it's all of the articles somehow feature this metal helmet and metal claws.
Now, where were some of these articles? This wasn't like India's version of Mad Magazine, was it?
No.
Alfred E. Newman on the cover.
No. But it is a concentrated series of accounts all around a time in May in 2001. So a little bit like, Mothman or something like that, where it's all the sightings are concentrated in one period of time.
So we're talking about a month's time.
Exactly.
And nobody was actually murdered by this thing.
No, just scratched and bites. And we're going to get to some of the bites here. So
wow.
This comes out of an article. I couldn't figure out where it was written, but the headline, it was written in May 16th, 2001. And the headline is, I know it was picked up by Reuters and things like that. That's where I saw it. The headline was Monkey Man Fears Rampant in New Delhi. Yeah, and they say here, Indian media has reported that 2 terrified residents have fallen to their death on hearing that an ape-like attacker was nearby. Police reported that they were no closer to solving the mystery of an ape-like creature, which residents accuse of clawing and biting dozens of people in New Delhi over the past fortnight.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said, this is the police. They said, we have consulted doctors about the bites, and they say they were some sort of an animal and not a human.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
You know, the other thing, too, over there, Kev, is, you know, we get a little cushy here with the AC. You know, I have central air in my house. But over there, the majority of those city dwellers, it's windows open 24 hours a day.
It's so funny because, again, you don't know what we're going to talk about, and that's exactly where we're going. But before we go there, you know, they say the information we have is pointing towards an animal. But we checked with the local zoo, and they said no animal had escaped from there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. They blamed some of the fears, the police blamed some of the fears on, you know, folks worried about supernatural creatures, and that they may have been exacerbated by the sweltering heat in the city and the darkness, because it's been so hot at that point in time that they had to cut off the electricity at night.
Yeah. And they regularly have brownouts or blackouts.
Oh, dude, they have blackouts all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. Like power outages. I'll be over there sitting in a conference room. The power will go out 5 times in a 3-hour meeting, and nobody even thinks twice of it. I'll be nothing. Looking, and people don't even notice it, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you have people over there that climb up telephone poles on ladders to hook a wire up to run to their radio in their house.
Well, that's me, Bill.
Yeah. I mean, you got people getting electrocuted in the street over there doing wiring jobs.
And by the way, it is super hot over there all the time. So, you know, last year I went over to Delhi, and on the weekend I went to see the Taj Mahal up in Agra, which is like 3 hours away. And I'd never been, as many times I've been to India, I never went to the Taj Mahal, which is spectacular. Mm-hmm. But when I was up at the Taj, it was like 115 or 120 degrees.
Wow.
I mean, wicked hot. Yeah. And it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't a record or anything.
Yeah.
It was
and that's like
hot.
Death Valley heat over here.
Oh, no, it's humid too.
Yeah.
So not dry, not a dry heat. It's just awful.
Wow.
You know, wicked hot. Yeah, so it's funny. So the police, they started to urge the state-run power company to try to ensure uninterrupted power supply from dawn till dusk. From dusk till dawn to try to ease the panic, right? Mm-hmm. And then the public's fear of the Monkey Man, they write in this article, was so great in an area called Noida, a New Delhi suburb, that folks caught and beat up a 4-foot-tall wandering Hindu mystic, mistaking him for the Monkey Man. It's kind of funny, unless you're the Hindu mystic.
Yeah. Fists and boots clobbering you. It's nothing funny.
Unbelievable. And
God forgive me. I'm just picturing this 4-foot Hindu mystic getting shoved around in some dark alley.
Worse, Bill. When you read the whole story, he's in the forest, like performing some type of Hindu rituals and stuff like that. And these people all come up to him. It's kind of like Young Frankenstein, with like torches and that, thinking he's a monkey man, and he's out there praying and doing a ritual.
Right. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Here he is. Let's get him.
Get him. So the police had these, sketch artists put together some portraits from the victims of the creature. And they put together the drawings. I'll put them up on BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. And the drawings suggested that it's more human than pure monkey. And that's worth mentioning because I didn't talk about it earlier, but I've been in some of the cities of India, not necessarily Delhi, where there's some big honking monkeys running around that'll scare the bejesus out of you,
Don't those monkeys ever attack people?
They do. They will come after you and howl at you and stuff like that. And some of them are pretty big,
Well, you look what's happened around this country with some of these people who think they can own a chimpanzee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that one poor woman had her face ripped off, was blinded, her finger was bit off. I mean, she was a unrecognizable mess after that chimpanzee was done with her.
Yeah, that's been going on for years.
Yeah,
they're not treated right or something goes wrong, right?
Yep. They just get ticked off and start attacking humans.
Yep. So I guess one of the newspapers over there called the Indian Express quoted a resident of this suburb called Noida as saying that the creature, as small as a cat, bit her fingers and two of her husband's teeth were knocked out by a metallic hand.
Yes, no matter what we think about the potential of a monkey of some kind being at the root of this, you can't deny the reports of the helmet, the glowing eyes, the buttons, the claws. That's not a monkey.
No, I know. And the same person, same area, 2 houses away, they said it was a monkey, all right, and about 4 feet tall. But as soon as I grabbed it, it turned itself into a cat with tawny glowing eyes. So really weird.
Oh, man, put the hookah down, brother. That guy might have gone to sleep and forgot to take the hose out of his mouth.
Yeah. Exactly. So, some victims in the report said wears a helmet. Others insist that he has metal claws without a helmet, has a shaggy black hide. And some said that it possibly had on roller skates. Hey, I promised you other oddities.
I got the boogie fever.
So during this period, what they call the Monkey Man reign of terror, he struck so many times across the Capitol, but that some of the police officers at that time thought that there must be more than one Monkey Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
A family, a troop of monkeys, as they call them.
A little gang of Monkey Man.
Yeah, and then they were sighted going down the street in New Delhi on a half dozen 65cc Hondas. The monkey men.
Carrying axes.
It's like a gang.
Exactly. So, and in this article, Bill, they say the Delhi residents, it seems, are not the first victims of this phenomenon. A scratcher known as Spring-Heeled Jack appeared in London in 1837. Yeah. He, too, had ironclad fingers, glowing red eyes, wore dark clothes, and scratched his victims. And he was never found.
Yeah, and Spring-Heeled Jack obviously was a totally different description than this Monkey Man, although we had two there, right? We had a 4-footer and an 8-footer.
Yep.
Spring-Heeled Jack was always described as being tall and slender.
Yeah, I think like 6 foot and skinny.
Yeah, extremely agile in his ability to leap over things.
Yes, but the steel glove, with the nails on it, to scratch you with, and the helmet, the metallic helmet, and some said the metallic vest.
Yeah, just really weird. That's the showstopper there, this getup.
Yep. Super strange.
Very, very freaking strange indeed,
Yeah, so that's the Monkey Man of New Delhi.
Well, great stuff, Kev. Yeah, and no monkey men around my parts. But I have a fantastic story here. You're about to hear it, and it was told to me by Frederick Iverson, a resident of Winnipeg, Canada. And this is what Frederick had to say that he saw on this particular day in September. As I told you, Bill, in our earlier conversation, I had booked a 10-day hunt through a registered outfitter, Class A guide service in Fort Steele, British Columbia. A 50% deposit was needed at the time of the booking date, and the price at the time, which was the early 60s, was $1,500 for 10 days. excluding a $5 tag fee and a $60 trophy fee. All of the equipment and transportation was provided by the outfitter, and I was only responsible for my rifle, ammunition, bedroll, and clothing that I would need. Now, keep in mind, this was in the early 60s that this happened. I took the 800-mile flight on Pacific Western Airlines and had arrived on September 8th, which was the first day of the season for elk, both white and black-tailed deer, bull moose, and black bears. I always like to book the opening day in hopes of being the first to sight the grandest of trophies in the region. This is a pristine area to hunt, and its location in close proximity to the upper Midwest states made it an excellent place to go for those who may have a limited amount of time or resources. There are also numerous fire, mining, logging, and guide trails, which give the hunters excellent access to the most remote areas of the Kootenai. Now, where have we heard the Kootenai before, like 100 times?
Exactly.
A large amount of this area had been logged and burned, which created huge expanses of cover to browse in. The topography changed throughout the Kootenai depending on where you were. There were basically 4 zones in which to hunt and seek out your prey. Beginning at the lowest levels, you had the lower Rocky Mountain Trench, which consisted mainly of somewhat gently rolling hills covered in yellow pine. It then transitioned into the main valleys of what is known as the Upper Trench, which was fairly heavily forested in Douglas fir throughout. You then moved into what is known as the subalpine area, which was steep and rugged terrain dotted with forests of spruce, and then finally you move into the alpine region, where mountain sheep and goats could also be taken. The animal population in this area consisted of sheep, elk, grizzly bear, deer, cougar, moose, caribou, mountain goats, and black bears. And if you wanted a shot at a trophy, this was the place to be. So it was opening day, and my guide Hank drove me up into the vicinity of the Upper Trench. This was, as Hank had told me, the best area in his opinion to find a trophy bull elk. Now, for those of you who don't hunt, the guide helps to decide which animals are the oldest and least productive of the many herds. In taking these animals, there's minimal, if any, effect on the health of the herd, and this is just one of the many reasons to have a guide with you on the hunt. So the two of us worked our way into the timber, and Hank began to make some calls. During this first afternoon alone, we had seen several large bulls and numerous cows, none of which we could get close enough to. And to tell you the truth, Hank was not ready to call any of the bulls we had seen a trophy. But I am sure that later in the season, some of these that we passed on would be taken by other hunters. Excuse me. The following day, we began by scoping out the fringes of the lower Rocky Mountain Trench, which bordered the forest we had been in. We were hiking our way through a variety of trees and terrain, stopping occasionally when Hank worked his binoculars across the surrounding area. There was an incredible amount of wildlife around us. We had seen a large grizzly walking at about 600 yards, which always sent a chill down my spine. One of my greatest fears being running into one of those up close and personal. They are quite formidable when you see them at close range. The two of us spent the next 7 hours, much as we had the day before. combing the landscape for the perfect bull. Although we had once again seen numerous candidates, we had passed in hopes of a better find tomorrow. Excuse me, let me grab a little drink of water here. I'm drying out. Now, generally, I would have taken one of the bulls we had seen already, but I had 8 days left, and there was no chance of me going home empty. The following day, the weather turned ugly. It was wet and cold. Having dressed for the day, we headed back into the upper trench once again. We made our way into an area that was about 2 miles due west of where we had been on the first afternoon. It was maybe 2 hours into the morning when we heard a loud howl coming from the forest to our north. It was an unmistakably loud, resonating, deep howl, unlike anything I had ever heard before. And Hank said nothing. When I broke the ice and asked him, "What the hell was that, Hank?" he calmly said, "I'm not sure." I asked him, "Is that a grizzly?" He answered, "Well, they don't really sound like that." Now, we were heading into and scoping out the area, which was where this howl had emanated from, which at this point was not my idea of a good time. Finally, later that afternoon, after hiking many miles, we found ourselves perched above a downhill slope, maybe 600 or 700 yards away from a clearing below us. Hank turned to me and said, "There he is, right by that group of trees to the right-hand side." He handed me the binoculars, and I could see this majestic bull making his way around the clearing. We immediately decided to descend, keeping ourselves upwind of the bull in hopes of getting into position for a shot. After our descent, we found ourselves seeing the bull at maybe 200 yards and decided to shoot. I thought my first shot had missed high and left, which I couldn't believe. I quickly chambered a second and squeezed the trigger. This time, I thought I saw a cloud of spray, indicating I had hit lung, but the bull took off. We could see the direction in which it had started to run, and as we got down to the clearing, there was some blood, but not as much as we thought we would see. Hank and I began the arduous task of tracking the animal, but the terrain and brushing here was not working to our advantage. We were 2 hours in and still had not found the bull. Staying the course of where Hank had been convinced this bull had gone, we started to hear what sounded like voices coming from up ahead. They were loud and boisterous, and neither of us could understand a word of what was being said. Hank whispered, "I don't have any idea who could be out here, but let's be careful because they may be armed and dangerous." I'll be honest with you. I wanted to turn back right then and there, but I followed Hank. We reached a point where the voices became exceedingly louder, and Hank started to point at something moving in the pines. I saw some black flashes of fur moving back and forth, exactly where these two unknown voices were coming from. Their words sounded like gibberish and were completely unintelligible to our ears. Hank waved for me to back out, and he followed. We didn't stop walking for maybe a mile, and he kept telling me not to talk. When we had finally made it clear of whatever danger he thought we may be in, he asked me how it felt to encounter the hairy men. Now, I had no knowledge of anything known as a hairy man, but Hank started to spin quite a yarn about Indian folklore. It was then that he told me about the howling we had heard earlier, stating that he knew it was them, having heard it before many times. His feeling was that more likely than not, they had found our kill before we got there, even though we didn't see it or them per se. Hank said that several years ago he had seen one walking across the Alpine zone, but had never dreamed of having anything occur up close and personal like today. Especially not this odd kind of talking that we had heard. Their speech reminded me of the raccoons in my yard. I hear them frequently chattering back and forth as they walk around in the dark looking for food. What do you think of that, Kev?
Whoa. The hairy man.
I mean, that's pretty freaking creepy, you know?
That is really creepy.
And this guy, the guide, Hank, wasn't letting on to him initially about the howl.
Yeah.
But then after they banged this bull and were having a tough time finding it, as they approached, they saw something black. I guess Hank knew what it was at the time.
Yeah.
And the gibberish was that language we hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
So his feeling, waving them out, was not to take a few shots into the trees and scare them off or whatever, but to get the heck out of there and that they found the prize.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you can imagine with these guides, they're basically getting paid to have a really good hunt. Not to have an excuse for not having a good hunt because they saw a hairy man. So he doesn't want to startle them, have them make a noise. I mean, the people he's guiding, until he has to tell them about what it is. So it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, and maybe there's a certain sense of danger. Like, I got to get, not only do I want to get out of here, but I've got a paid client.
Yeah. I meant when he heard the howls, like, why distract the guys with what it is? We got to get a hunt done here.
Right. And he was fortunate or unfortunate enough to not only hear a howl, but then to kind of get a glimpse of and hear this gibberish, but not really seeing a full-blown Sasquatch,
No, I mean, and it's wild, Bill. Like, hearing the howl, seeing a Sasquatch, but it's got to be even scarier when you're near the Sasquatch and you hear this like gibberish, right? Some people say it's like Russian or Chinese or something, like no language they ever heard. I mean, I think the only thing creepier than seeing a Sasquatch is hearing Sasquatch talking to one another. Right? I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah, no, it is. The whole thing freaks me out. I mean, say what you will. I had a conversation with this fella the other day from our audience, and he was telling me about his encounter that was in a tent with his friend. And I think they were over by the Seven Sisters Wilderness or the, I can't think of it right now. Anyways, he was in the tent, the other fellow was asleep, and the fire had dwindled down to nothing. And they were camping near a creek that made a fair amount of noise. It wasn't like a little trickling stream. You could hear it. He heard something walking up to the tent that was bipedal. Thump, thump, thump. He could tell it wasn't a bear or an elk, and he knew enough about the outdoors to know that most animals, when they come in to sniff, come low.
Right.
They have their snout down and they're sniffing around the base of the tent, not the top.
Right.
So this thing came thumping over to the tent, and he heard it heavy breathing and sniffing up by the top vent on the tent.
Oh, yeah. This was, he wrote in, right? And you ended up
certainly
talking
did.
to him. Yeah. Because we did that letter last podcast or the podcast before, but we hadn't talked about you chatting with him.
Yeah, well, like I love to talk to people. And I had a good conversation with him. And he said he knew from the sound of the lung capacity and the sniffing that this was not a regular animal in the forest. He thought it was a Sasquatch, and he was actually afraid for his life.
Yeah.
And then the thing turned and walked away. And once again, folks, him and his buddy had a pocket knife between them. So, when I tell you always carry more gun than you think you're going to need, that's good advice.
Don't bring the pocket knife with you.
Yeah.
Unless you got to fly on the airline or something.
Hey, what do you mean, Bill? My pocket knife's 4 inches long. Unbelievable,
Wow. Creepy, though. And up there again in British Columbia, right? Hotbed.
The Kootenai.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard the Kootenai. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 20 times.
Yep, exactly. And the early 1960s, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, it just shows you these things have been around for,
heck yeah,
who knows, hundreds of thousands of years. Known and unknown accounts of them, you know what I mean? It's just, there's, once again, where's the evidence? Right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But of course, if you don't believe anybody, nothing's evidential,
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. By the way, a big shout out to Sean, my buddy over in Idaho. Sean, Kevin, apparently is sending me out something that I'm going to be very happy to receive.
A head of a Bigfoot?
I don't think so. And I don't want to mention what I think it is. But when I get it, if it's what I think it is, we are going to have quite the conversation about it. And we are definitely going to post it on our website.
We have to dedicate an episode to this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kev, I may even have to send Sean a book.
Oh.
Yeah, think of it.
Maybe you could send out 2 books, one to me and one to Sean. I mean, while you're packaging things up and signing
Yeah, but
books.
then I'd have to use 2 envelopes. And by the way, I'm feeling a little bit generous today. So why don't we have a little contest for an autographed book?
Ooh, very good.
And here's what you have to do, my dear listeners. I want you to send me where you believe the next location of fantastic video footage will come from regarding a Sasquatch. All I want you to do is tell me what state and where you think it will happen and why.
Oh, I like it.
All right? So send that out to BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. Go on our contact link and just write a little essay on the how, where, when, and why the next great Bigfoot footage will come from. And if I select you, you will get an autographed copy of one of the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters books. So there you have it.
Nice. And don't be intimidated by the essay. Neither Bill or I are English majors, but that's probably not a shock to you.
Hey, what do you mean, Brolinsky?
Hey.
I pick things up and I put things
Put
down.
them down. Arnold.
All right, bro. So what do we got from our listeners today?
We got some good listener mail, as usual. Thank you, everyone, for writing in. The first one comes from June in Germany. And as I can tell, June is not from Germany. She seems to be from the Emerald Isle.
Ah, very nice.
Yes. And she says, "Hi, Bill and Kevin." That's good right there. Just wanted to tell you how much I enjoy the podcast. My husband and I are stationed in Germany, and I first heard of your books on Sasquatch Chronicles. She says, "You guys are some awesome Shanachie." No,
I hope that's good.
Is?
I hope it's good.
It's good. It's a Gaelic word. That's how I'm guessing she's Irish. And it means kind of a historian or storyteller in Gaelic. So very nice.
Yeah,
And
I
she
like
says,
that.
"We've been listening for a week at bedtime and love falling asleep to the creepy stories."
Yeah. I hope you love the monkey man coming in your window tonight, June.
So God bless you, June. You might want to latch the window after listening to the monkey man. And she says, "You guys have a grand sense of humor, too. Great work, and slante. And slante to you, June."
Well, I guess if they're stationed in Germany, they're in the military.
Some kind of military, so thank you for your service.
Hey, do you think they wear helmets and have claws?
And buttons on their chest? They definitely have buttons.
June, thanks a lot for writing into us, and it's
Thank
nice
you.
to hear a kind-hearted word from the listeners. That, you know, it does our hearts good. Believe me, when you people write into us. So
No doubt.
don't be shy. Send us a letter, even if it's just to say hello and call us Shanachie. What is it, Kev?
Shanachie.
Shanachie.
Yeah. So and anytime you can include Gaelic word, Gaelic blessings or Gaelic references, that's bonus.
I love it, man. It's so cool to have these people from all over the globe
It's fantastic.
chiming in with us. You know.
All right. So Lou writes in next. Lou.
Hey, Louis.
Hey, Louis. He says, "Hello, Bill and Kevin. I'm a new listener that recently found your podcast on iTunes. You guys have been laughing out loud often. Hearing Bill talk, I couldn't help but want to know where he was from. Just as I suspected, New York. You're both doing a great job." And then Bill, get ready. He says, "DVDs are a thing of the past. Everything is streamed online these days. But if you must have them, Amazon has everything. Forgive me if I'm a little late to the game." And guess where Lou is from, Bill?
I know where Lou is from.
Ronkonkoma.
Yeah, he's a Ronka-Monka rowdy.
Exactly. And for those in the audience, that's where Bill and I grew up, Lake Ronkonkoma.
I don't know if Ronkonkoma is the same as it used to be.
You got to tell me, man. I haven't been there in ages.
Yeah. No, it's used to be a lot of freaks and weirdos and hippies wandering around down in town.
Now it's all freaks, weirdos, and hippies?
Yeah. Now everybody's a freak
It's
and a
not
weirdo.
a lot. It's everybody.
Hey, Louis.
Louis, thanks for writing in, Lou. Say hi to the lake and the Barbarian Inn.
Yeah. That's too bad they knocked that place
I know,
down.
that's long gone.
You know, I used to go there for the Boy Scouts Silver Arrow and Gold Arrow dinners.
Ah.
And I don't know if you remember him, Frankie Majewski and his sister.
Yeah.
They used to play accordions over there.
Oh, I never went to those affairs.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was a real German place, you know.
Yeah,
and they had,
absolutely. I called it Barbarian, but it's the Bavarian Inn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was authentic.
That was a go-to place back in the day, and now it's nothing. You wouldn't
Right
even know
on the
it was
lake.
there.
Right on the lake.
Amazing.
Real close to Little Vincent's Pizza,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, now that's the real deal. Vinny's
that's the real
pie
deal,
is great.
Vinny's. And then I used to play lacrosse for a bar there called Christopher's.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which was fun. Right down from Little Vinny's.
Yeah, that was in that little, like, strip mall over
Yeah,
there,
strip
right?
mall. Everything's a
Yep.
strip mall.
Yep. That's great stuff.
Good stuff. Lou, you're bringing back the memories. All right, we're going to go to Chris next. And Chris is in the southwest of the UK. So time for your accent, Bill.
What are you trying to say, brother?
He says, I live in an area called Worlbury.
No, you don't. You're lying.
When would you guys like me to call, time of day wise? What area in the U.S. are you in? So I can gauge this. He says he has a lot more detail to what comes below. So he says, my property butts right up next to a set of woods called Worlbury Woods or Weston Woods. The woods are a beautiful place to live next to, and they have been around a long time. They've proven to be some 2,300 years old. This is due in part to there being an ancient Briton Iron Age fort inside the woods, although this is basically now a hill and some rubble. Many ancient artifacts have been found in the woods, arrowheads and the like, and also 18 or so human remains. The woods also have a darker past. One murder has been committed in the woods that we know of, to which no suspect has yet been found. Regarding this wolf-like creature that I write about, I myself have had one clear visual sighting on a very windy night in which the creature I saw attacked and killed a deer. I was intently watching the deer when it attacked it. When and after this happened, the wolf creature pushed itself up off of the deer's body and stood on its rear legs. After looking at each other, I was then verbally shadowed after hearing very loud noises next to me from something else I couldn't see next to me in the woods. Whilst this happened, my dog would not take her eyes off of the trees next to me, with his tail stiff as a board as I walked slowly back out of the woods. I have also had one sighting in which the trees above me shook like crazy. There have also been many verbal instances in which lots of very, very loud howling takes place. I now, after having had myself visual sighting, only walk my dog on the perimeter rather than on the inside of the woods. Sounds like a good call.
Yeah. He originally contacted me saying he had some type of possible dogman or wolfman sighting.
Yeah.
And I just haven't gotten, Kev, the time zone thing and work and everything is very odd to try to figure out when I would even try to connect with this fella to get more details, you know?
Yeah.
Now, what do you think it is, bloke? You think he's pulling my tail or he's telling the truth?
I think they got some werewolf, dogman, whatever it takes, roaming around the moors.
I believe it. And I'll tell you what else I believe. I think this is a job for Sherlock Holmes.
Stay on the path. Don't go in the moors.
Remember the Hound of the Baskervilles?
Oh.
I always loved that.
Gets
I could watch
creepy
those
over
old
there.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
I always liked that movie back from the 80s. I don't know if you ever saw it, called American Werewolf in London, too.
I never saw the whole thing, but I did see the initial attack when they made their way into that pub and everybody kind of snubbed their nose to him and made him go back out.
Remember the name of the pub? Here we go, trivia.
No, I have no idea.
The Slaughtered Lamb.
Oh, that's right. It had the picture of the lamb with a knife in it or something on the wall, right?
And they come walking in and the guy misses the dartboard. And he's like, I never miss. Yeah.
Great. Really hospitable.
The Slaughtered Lamb. You kind of knew that when you're walking into a pub called the Slaughtered Lamb.
Yeah, maybe it's not a good idea. But they had no choice. Remember, it was like the only.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was a cool movie. You should try to get that DVD one of these days. I haven't seen it in years. It might be one of those movies that's terrible now, but back then it was super cool.
Well, according to Ludo, DVDs are out. And I got back to Lou and I told him I just bought the 3 DVD set. I just drew a blank from a buddy who used to do the Survivor Man Bigfoot, Les Straub.
Oh, yeah, Les Straub, yeah.
Yeah, I bought his 3 DVD Bigfoot seasons, however many there were. I just wanted to have them that I could go in and out of them and watch them in their entirety again.
Oh, yeah,
as I have time.
I mean, Lou probably doesn't have a cassette player in his car anymore either. I mean, come on, you know.
Well, who doesn't have a cassette player? Come on.
I'm just saying.
What kind of car you drive? And I got an 8-track.
All right, and our last letter, Bill, comes in from Bob in Texas. And I think you talked to Bob, too. So he says, Bill and Kevin, love your show. It provides a great combination of education, terror, and humor, and is always fun and interesting to listen to. A couple of shows ago, you discussed the Noxie monster in Oklahoma from the 70s. I've been interested in Sasquatch since I first read Ivan T. Sanderson's book, Abominable Snowman, Legend Come to Life. By the way, folks, a great book. Really good, right?
Yeah, there's so much data in there.
Oh, it's just every time I come across one of these cryptids, I go to the index of that book, and they're in there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
he
anyway,
was very thorough.
Back to Bob. So he says, where was I here? A legend come to life. He said he's been involved in Sasquatch research since the 1970s. First with the Dallas-based Sasquatch Research Society, then with BFRO for the last 10 years with the TBRC, now NAWAC. Sasquatch activity in East Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas area has been frequent over the many years, but I had forgotten about the Noxie monster. In fact, our NAWAC website, I believe, has a narrative on the Noxie beast. I have copies of the newsletter of the Old Dallas Bigfoot Research Society from 1978 to 1981, if you might be interested. I don't remember if we had investigated the Noxie monster, although it may have been done by others in the group before I joined in 1978 when I moved to Texas. My first investigation with the group was that of the, let's see if I can say this, I don't know this one, Atchafalaya Basin in Louisiana, Atchafalaya Basin, in 1978, investigating a series of sightings on the campground. We had a radio news reporter with us, and the investigation was broadcast as a series on KLIF radio in Dallas. Once again, I really enjoy your podcast. Keep up the great work. Bob in Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, Bob, a big shout out to Bob. Another great listener to our podcast. I spoke to him the other day, Kev, for probably, I don't even know, hour and a half. I don't even know. I really enjoy talking to the people that are our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Very intelligent, very knowledgeable, great listener, great people. And, he's locked and loaded with listening to our podcast. Because he likes our take on things and where we're going with what we're talking about,
Super
and this
cool.
guy he was around the block a couple of times. They were thoroughly involved in investigating Bigfoot. And then he kind of, I forget exactly how he put it, but there was a separation between him and the last group that he was in. And I think he told me he's having some issues right now that prohibit him from really getting involved again, you know. But
well, he was at it for a long time, Bill, going way back. I mean, super cool. I mean, Bob, thank you so much for writing in, and I'd love to see some of the newsletters from back then.
Yeah, now, did you see, Kev, I forwarded that to you. He copied a bunch of the newsletters to the one email.
Man, so I missed that. I'll have to check back again.
Yeah, no, get in there, and it's a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but that's super
you gotta.
cool.
I said to Bob, I have a lot on my plate. And it's not that I don't appreciate being sent things, but the question is when I'll be able to get to them. So there's a lot going on. Our listener base is growing in leaps and bounds. And there's plenty of stuff on our plate.
Oh, yeah, but we still want the info. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
No doubt about it.
We will get to it. Cool,
Awesome.
Bill. Well, that's it for this week. Great podcast, folks. Thank you so much for listening. As Bill mentioned, boy, record numbers of listeners, new listeners coming in. And please, if you haven't left us a 5-star review, please do so right now on the podcast player you're listening to. Just give us 5 stars. It means a lot because the more 5-star reviews we get, the more listeners we get. And as we get more listeners, we can continue to improve the quality of the podcast. So thank you so much. And if you already left a review for 5 stars, heck, leave another one. You've listened to more than one podcast. Leave us another review. And thank you so much. And of course, most importantly, be safe while you're out there in this crazy COVID world.
Yes, my friends. And if you're foolish enough to go stomping around in the Atchafalaya swamp, remember, always carry more gun than you think you're gonna need. Sleep tight.